Hi, my beautiful friends and fellow sensitives. I am really excited and a little nervous to talk about this topic. This is something that's very personal for me, but also I think so universal and so shared by so many of us. I think we're so far from alone in this, and I think there's probably more of us in the world than we've ever even known before, just because on a cultural level, this type of being in the world isn't really something that's visible because so many of us learn how to put on our costumes and move through the world. So I do think this is something so many of us share, and yet it feels really personal because it's this sensitive part of ourselves that we have been taught we kind of need to hide a little bit. And even in adulthood, as I am reparenting myself and healing and releasing all those old wounds, I still find there are times when I want to masquerade as something that doesn't feel innate to me. And part of what inspired me to just kind of do this next chat in our kind of weekly, more relaxed chats where I sit here on the floor, because I don't know, it just feels right to sit on the floor when I'm talking about some of these gentler topics. I was thinking about how, as a sensitive person or a highly sensitive person, there are weeks when I feel very empowered by that, where it feels like this awesome gift and it's so cool to be able to see the world with my eyes and feel through it all. And then there are weeks, and I kind of had one of those weeks this week, to be honest, which is what spurred me to want to talk about this, where I feel very frustrated by it, where I wish that I could be more efficient, clearer-headed at times. I didn't get so overwhelmed. I started comparing myself to other people in my field who are, looking all glossy and are very extroverted and posting all the time and being sassy and free-spirited and no judgment on those other people. But I found myself judging myself for not being and not performing and not doing things the way that the rest of the world seems to be doing something. And it took me on this little journey of coming back to this core belief I developed probably around the time I was 7, that I'm doing it wrong. And that core belief really was established because I was a highly sensitive kid. And I of course, didn't understand things like that, and nobody around me was talking about things like that. And I was also a very quick study at that age, so for me, I would realize, okay, I would go to school and feel so overwhelmed. I remember so many days just inside just wanting to burst into tears because it just felt like so much. The lights, all the hyper kid energy, trying to keep up with everything it was always kind of overwhelming for me, but I learned very quickly how to hide that and kind of just be a really good, studious kid and just go along with the punches. I even learned a bit how to perform as kind of this extroverted kid at times. And, putting puzzle pieces together, slopping things together. But deep down, I often felt but I still feel inside I'm doing something wrong because I can't go to this school and be happy and free-spirited like all these other kids around me. And of course, I can't possibly have known what all those other kids were also going through. There's probably a high likelihood a lot of the kids I looked at thinking they're doing so well were going through the exact same thing as me. But at the time, the story that I told myself was that there's something just wrong with me because I'm seeing and noticing all these other things, but they don't seem to be a part of the criteria of what I need to know or do in these contexts. And so when I have a bad week, when I have a week where I'm feeling frustrated by the way I move through the world, frustrated by the energy levels, when I need to take rest or when I need to kind of power down for a little while, when I feel like I'm not being the glitzy, beautiful, extroverted performer, those weeks when I'm just feeling frustrated, it reminds me that this is part of that old story. And actually, this is what I wanted. There's a really simple message I just wanted to bring to the table here today, just for any of us who are having those weeks where we're feeling yes, we know that it's a beautiful thing to be able to sense all of this stuff and to really be able to take in the world at the depth we take it in. It is such a beautiful gift. However, it does come with its it's ways of moving through the world, right? We do often need more rest. We do often need to take our time. We do need to observe sometimes a little bit longer and really think about what it is we want to put into the world, what it is we really want to share, what it is we really want to do. All of those things are a part of this whole thing. And we're all different. You know, it's not just a label and then we're all just the same type of people. We've all adapted and learned to move through the world in our own ways, either by being really stoic or by being way overwhelmed. You know, there's a lot of different ways we do it. But I was thinking about the stories we tell ourselves about our sensitivity, right? In my case, I have this very old story about it being me doing everything wrong, my sensitivity just being wrong somehow, there being something off about it. Another story I tell myself, and it's kind of the progeny of that original story, is like I have to do things better. I have to do them in the way that other people are doing, the other way the people around me on the internet are doing them. Why aren't I doing it that way, right? Those are the things that cause me pain about my sensitivity. Those are the things that make me feel like unworthy, unsafe, wrong somehow, right? And so if you're having a week where you're just feeling frustrated by it, just notice the stories you're telling yourself about why you deserve the rest or why you don't deserve the rest. You know, so often we'll be like, well, I should, right? I should. I have everything that I need in my life. I should be able to just power through this day. I should be wanting to create 24/7. I should be using my site to do all these things, right? Notice and pay attention to what that story is and why we find that we are trying to take ourselves, our little sweet, sensitive, highly sensitive selves, and put them into these molds, right? Put them into these pre-cookie cutter shape. This is what a human is. I'd also say embrace your space blob. This is so important. My whole life, I am not kidding, and especially even in adulthood, this has gotten more true. I have felt like this floating space blob. That is just like a feeling I have inside of myself. I used to judge this. I used to try to shut this down. I used to try to run from this. I used to try to just pretend this wasn't happening. And now I've learned, embrace your space blob, whatever that is for you. For me, it's like, that's a part of who I am. I'm kind of, I'm a bit out there, I'm a bit floaty. I have some pretty wacky ideas. I don't really fit the social mode. Sometimes I'm very awkward. Sometimes I do not perform well. Sometimes like things just come out of my mouth. It's just like, what? I'm learning that that's a part of what is lovable about me, that it's not something I need to shut down or masquerade. And of course, we can all learn to be better friends and help ourselves to learn new skills and to grow and to not just like default to like, okay, well, this is just what I am. But I think for me, it's just like, this is the part of me that people want to hang out with. This is the part of me that people want to hear from. So embrace your space blob is the second part of this. Not only to question the stories about when you're not allowed to take rest or reset or just honoring your body for what it needs when it gets overwhelmed, because that's the final point I wanted to make. And I'm looking at my notes here because the foundational writer about this is Elaine Aron, and I'm sure many of you have read her work. So I am far from the first person talking about this topic, but she's very big on kind of the somatic practice of checking in with our physical bodies, because a lot of us highly sensitive people, and I think she coined the term highly sensitive person, are wired to be very easily overwhelmed by the physical world. It's partially just like a physical thing as well. It's something that we have to love about our bodies. And so I would highly recommend her work, The Highly Sensitive Person, if you haven't read it and you're looking for answers about this. But she also, in kind of thinking about these ways we think about ourselves, she has in this book, Highly Sensitive Person, like a three-step process, which is this. Think about an event or a thing that maybe you've been feeling frustrated with yourself about, right? Or like you couldn't follow through with it, or you didn't have the energy, or you got overwhelmed. think about your response to that event and how you view it. And this can be something in the past. This can be something from last week. Think about how you tell the story of that event. Do you say that it's, you failed at it, you couldn't handle it? Really notice what you're saying about it. And also notice what didn't feel right for you legitimately, because that's the thing too. So many of us gaslight ourselves about what doesn't feel right for us in our physical body and what doesn't feel right with us for our energy levels. We say, but I should be able to handle this. So also notice if there was something about it. Was it that there was too much light? Was it that there was too much noise? Was it that, maybe you don't actually enjoy hanging out with that person because, they kind of have a cutting edge or something and it doesn't feel that great? Whatever it is, let yourself notice what wasn't working for you in that. That's valid. That's okay. Consider how you want to move forward with that. Notice how what your body needs then, right? Think about what your body needs. Allow yourself to have that. Allow yourself to entertain the possibility of there being a way for you to move through this life that's supportive of you. Though you don't have to shut down, you don't have to hide your whole life. You don't have to do things based on the way that everybody else is doing it. And, think about what you can do now to allow your body to be present in this life and feel supported, and your spirit as well. This is a physiological thing in many ways, but it's also, I think, an acceptance of our spirit, right? It's a gentle, loving, kind acceptance of our spirit. And so much of this has to do with reframing the way that we talk about our story, reframing the way we parent ourselves, and allowing ourselves to have preferences and needs, because they are valid. They're valid. It's valid to see the world the way that you see it. You don't need to be, I just remember being 7 and literally I felt like I was straining my eyes, my muscles, everything to try and see the world the way people were telling me I needed to see it. And it was all it wasn't directly told to me. It was silently, implicitly told to me. I was straining so much to see a way that I thought I needed to see. And I think a big thing with being a highly sensitive person is maybe not to fight against that vision so much, not to fight against that information so much. Listen into it and let it empower you to move through the world. It doesn't have to be the thing that actually stops you and you have to sit at home forever resting your way through life. I think whenever I stop judging myself and I start rewriting this story for myself in a way that's really supportive of me. Yes, I take that extra nap. Yes, I decide I'm going to stay in for the night because I'm not in the mood to hear loud music. But then I start making choices where I show up. I show up to that picnic the next day. I show up to chat with you all. I have that deep conversation with that friend. I show up in the places that are right for me, and I show up in the places that allow me to share my space blobbiness in a way that feels right for me and honors my physical body as well as my spirit. So that's all I wanted to say. I really feel so strongly about this topic, especially because I did have a week where I went to these comparative places that felt so awful, and I just felt like that idea of I'm doing it wrong. What's wrong with me? I don't produce, content the way a lot of other people do. I haven't been as consistent this last year because I've been going through a lot of overwhelm and I've been needing a lot of extra rest, and I've been struggling with my energy pretty much the entire last year. I have had to rest so much and I get so frustrated sometimes, it'll almost make me cry right now. So, but I know I'm not alone. That's the thing. There are just so many of us and we're everywhere. And I just really wanted to connect with anybody who's also working with this. I would love to hear your experiences of what it's been like for you to be a highly sensitive person, some of the thoughts that have come up for you. If you want to share, I'd love to hear some of your origin myths or your those core beliefs that we develop, and just hear what you have to say and how you've transformed it as well, because I know so many of us have also transformed, and we are lucky to be living in the world that is today, because I think this this topic is becoming much more present in the world and something that we can talk about more and is just more widely acknowledged. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I would love to hear from you, and I will see you all very, very soon for our next chat. Also, let me know if there's a chat you want me to talk about, a story from my life, an experience, or even astrology topic or tarot topic. I'd love to hear that as well. Talk to you all soon, my beautiful friends.